Hello, tu ni na pasya kwal te in kwan tu siam na to siya kup de siya kai to Rose River ke pa ka pai lai ta ko he. See you there? Amen. Amen. Tu lai ta Rose River ke sunga. Ka ba khiao yau lai ta ko he. Sin kong pen bel hi chi ma. In masama ma rin he atuina ke ma Rose River ke atuina che hi athuk za pen pi da thum bal thuk che ma hi kyau pa na ting luang khia he anak che ma
8,000 years. So, no discovery date, but I like to say 1792 was the first documented use of this cave. That's when someone purchased the land here, and they started to use this for milling operations. It floods bad. Back in May of 2010, that's the board I pointed out on the tree. The water was all the way up above that second bluff right there. Yeah, so if you had a poorly built mill sitting down here, it did not stand a chance. Those mills would...
Có bằng anh có mình đã quay xuống luồng kia chỉ cái thể rồi luôn vì na khát rồi luồng có mà lúa đi lúa cái đó
What is it? Seal, do you want one of these?
Suangpi hi tangya le ite thu phawa mei ko nga tang sak ni sia pan sa ko Rose River le tong min chang ma river ka chilan nang thek cha nong sia thai dia
ที่เป็นว่าสักกะอนาคตมีเรียปีละทุ่มของไอเดียก็ไปสุกินะก็ช่างว่าไปสุกินะมูลครับแต่ผมนอนลงชิมอกาตัวมาตัวน่ะอาบะสมเรียนไกลตะแหวกว่าแหละ
โอเคอินว่าอนาเป็นปีละทุ่มมาอินฮิกระต้นเดียวเป็นปีละสองงาบาลมาตุนเป็นตุนโบตัวงาไปดีอะไรอินนี่ตุนเนี่ยที่สมัยองค์นี้นะ
Kita bang ni orang ni pakai.
Ya oh. Ini kapay na Suangkuahawm ni tao. Tu ni sponsor pen. Usyak konti income mo. Manta.
Ibu. Kim tengah lalian pensi mo.
Boleh rin nung payo siya hitin pen en lawa om kayon. Gana Ita pa mahe. Vật hiếu hiếu nó thế. Cho anh làm cái nuôi. Niên lý lâu mà. Biết thế niên lý. Anh đâu cả quên đâu. Yên thế nào yêu mua toàn kim kim gì nhiều như vậy.
Ini ni lagi macam. Woi kong kesuk lesi pak lu.
Siapa ini sana.
Siapa nuye malum dah. Siapa nuye.
Na sana hit na pa na.
Pa na pen suang sungai.
Suang ni lah mai. Kau ham pikat suak bemo.
Doi luang tu tem won kuang tu ngap tuang dia.
Padahal aku sama pai ke dah dulu ni. Tu ni kau tuan nang tai. Nak kamai wa siapa pai. Ina ya tu ima. Ina. Parti kau ini nak bersama dengan kau nak kini.
If you guys will sit on the right side for me.
Thank you sir. Kanya apa tao ni. Ui, Oh my god.
สวงเงียมูนี่สวงเงีย
Can I do 6 and 2? Two on the right side, and then
Don't drop the phone
เขาจะยังไงเชียคุก
and I may actually do an extra one on my side.
รถวิ่งราที่ไปใจ
หนัวไม่
คุณต้องบินจะบอกคุณว่าแต่ก็ตักเลี้ยงแบบนี้นู่นไงแต่มันตา
มาสิหนุ่ยเชียใครเชีย
This
ค
on
น
the right side because I'm
เชีย
also
คน
missing the left. We've already got a little left. Still, is that okay? Awesome.
เขาจะไปหิวไหมเอ้ยจนอรุณรู้ได้ตามไงนะรู้กี่ลำบ่เจ
All right, here we go.
ว้าวอรุณรู้ได้ตามไงกันรู้
If you would like to touch a rock in arcade, this is the only one you're allowed to touch.
ว้าว
That is exactly right.
นี่สงไปเดี๋ยวที่ตามไง
You can't tell there's a cave here sometimes.
ตอมสางจะเด็ดเลยจนว้าวไอ้น้องเนี่ย
All right, let your neighbor sit up first.
ลำดังไงมาเจ
คุณเขียวเขียวไปเขียวเวีย
It is. It is growing because it's getting longer, and it's growing in the fact that our stalactites are getting bigger. Sorry, heliotherms are getting bigger. This right here is our first heliotherm, or cave formation. How fast do you guys think this grows? An inch every 100 years.
โอ้
Yeah, it's pretty old,
เอ๊ะ
though,
ผม
right?
สบายใจ
Bigger than 1 inch.
นี่แต่
Pretty big. It's still growing, actually. This is called bluestone for obvious reasons. That's exactly how it grows. Water from the surface is draining through the limestone, dissolving away, taking up calcite. It deposits it down here as it flows over the stone. Grows about like a marshmallow every century. And all this peanut butter brown color here is that nice calcite. That is also called travertine for anybody who like those countertops or anything like that, like TV. Yeah. This is all healthy. This is like the crown jewel of this formation, except for here. This is not nice and healthy. This is a pollution scar. So, during the nightclub era, there was also a cow pasture up there. And this is not just picking up calcite. So what do cows do? They chew and they move. And
คือ
they...
คือข่อยขา
Exactly, yeah. So this is a pollution scar. The joke's only get worse, trust me. And unfortunately, it has stained this black. But, even though a few decades cover up thousands of years of work down here, we do see a little bit of that peanut butter brown color, which means even if it never healed completely, it is starting to look a lot better. If you guys come back in like a couple thousand years and give you a tour on us. Here's our cave dragon up here.
โอ้ my
Or
god
if you're really hungry, a hot dog and 2 buns.
ผมสบายไหมเจเลยที่จัง
Now, would you guys believe me if I just said that you passed under a 5-lane highway? Because that's an actual road about 100 feet up there. Now, there's about 60 feet of rock in this room and about 40 feet of airspace between us and the surface. And this is called the breakdown room. You might be thinking, breakdown room? Didn't you just say we're sitting under a highway? Trust me, totally safe down here. Water is getting in between these big layers of limestone, kind of like these here. These are really nice, obvious layers. What happens is, it's dissolving away in between layers and it's breaking away. And all of these big limestone slabs you can see here come crashing down from the ceiling. Now what happens is it falls from the sides towards the center in a sort of nice archway here. So we've got a really strong ceiling, and every time a layer falls away, it leaves behind a stronger layer. And we're pretty confident, based on the scientists, that we are not due for any breakdown for like a few thousand years. So we're good for like another 20 minutes, right? Yeah. Now, we actually haven't even seen breakdown as far as we can tell in a very long time, because the ceiling looks like it stayed the same since like our Native Americans were here thousands of years ago.
สิลิงเตหิสิเนสวงบีบวัดดิกเด็กที่สอนมา
Now, has anybody been in caves before? Yeah. For those of you who have, what do you notice about this cave? Yeah, there are no stalagmites, and we have stalactites. These gigantic things up here, right? Now, if you've been to any other cave, you know that these are pathetic, right? They're really small. They should be bigger. It's not because they're young. A lot of people assume they're like baby stalactites, but they're really not. Instead, what's happening is that rock doesn't let much water travel through this rock up here. It only really lets it come down through, especially on these fractures, and that's where stalactites grow. They grow about an inch every 100 years. Now, what did Brady talk about outside that happens every 100 years? Did you guys learn about floods? Yeah. When those floods come through, at least every 100 years, it hits the ceiling sometimes. When it hits the ceiling, it's dissolving the very bottom layers of our stalactites, and it's moving very fast, like 45, 50 miles an hour, bringing in big tree branches. It's like trimming them down like they're getting haircuts, cutting off the very bottoms. So they don't really have a chance to grow very big in our cave, except for this one. Yeah, this is a few feet long. This one is called the praying hands, or the stuck diver, or the cave pistachio. Yeah, it's the biggest we've got. It's still kind of small, but it's definitely our biggest.
Well, yeah, again.
And that one is, again, still growing. Now we know they're still growing. They're still dripping water. Anybody feeling any really cold drops of water? Yeah. Those cold drops of water are called cave kisses. They're 2 weeks of good luck. You're welcome. You got 4 of them. Now, is anybody getting any really hot drops of water? Good. Those are not good luck. Those are called bad kisses. You shouldn't get any bad kisses because bats don't like this cave. Bats really hate this cave in general. They have learned that it floods, and they have learned that that small little entrance is the first thing to flood. Their colony are really smart. They don't have access to meteorologists to tell them when it's going to rain. They have no idea in general, except for the adolescent males. They get kicked out every year. They're really dumb, aren't we all? And they come showing up here looking for love in all the wrong places. So in general, those are the only ones we see, but it's a wrong time of year for them. So likely the only bat you will see is called a dingbat. It wears a blue shirt and drives a really cool boat. All right. All right. We'll keep our hands inside for me. We're going to park right up here against these rocks.
Suangkuahawm UP is an edit right now. Ano ulit kami? Wow! Oh my God! Patayin ko ay lang please.
close up, you can't see all the way to the surface, but that was drilled through about 90 to 100 feet of rock in order to pipe down the concrete used to build the dam in 2008. So that sits right in between the Graves Gilbert Clinic and the Truist Bank. So you guys drive home today, if you see those buildings next to the park, the bank, or the clinic, you will know you go out.
Suangkuahawm sa niya eh.
Every Friday afternoon, we call that direct deposit. Also, it's a good thing they missed these up on the ceiling. If I can find them. These are not the ones I'm looking for, but these will work. These little black marks up on the ceiling. These right here, these are fossils. Those little things up there are horn coral. Please keep stay seated for me, don't touch the ceiling. These are horn coral, and they are older than the dinosaurs. They were fossilized before them. They're from when this rock was deposited under a shallow ocean. Please keep your hands down for me.
Oh. Iba lang, may yung ibang te.
สัตว์เขียวไปเข้าไปได้ไหม
นัวไม่เล่าเรียนเลยพี่เต๋ของอามาก็ต้องกินเอ็นแบบเรื่องอะไรต้องมวยต่ำ
What's that way? Is that the question? That is
There's a lot of life in here.
a lot of life in here. Yeah, so it's not like teeming with life everywhere. Okay. Blind cavefish live down here. Sorry, a little closer than I thought we were. They eat what they can, and they save that energy as best they can as well. There's no need to see, so they don't have eyes. Or if they do, they don't really work. They typically don't rely on vision at all. And since there's no need to protect themselves from the sunlight, they do not have pigment. They don't need it. So instead, they're this like translucent white color. And you can see through them into their skeletons, into their like circulatory system and stuff.
How big do they get?
The fish are like the size of my thumb. They're really small. The crawdads are a little bigger. We might see some of those. They are a little bit smaller than regular crawfish. So you know what crawfish look like? Sometimes they hang out in here, but they're really hard to find. Not so many. You might see them by the dog. So those are called troglodytes because they live their entire lives in caves. You are now a troglophile because you have lived a part of your life in a cave. Now, behind the dam is actually an ancient collapse and breakdown, kind of like this, except it fills the whole passageway. And even the expert cavers at WKU can't travel through it. So, we don't go that way. The rest of the 7 miles of cave system is much harder to get through anyway. That also means all of our human history is concentrated right here at the entrance. So like 10, 12,000 years of human history exists up here from the Native Americans who left all of their items up here, fire pits and spearheads and things. So for reference, the arrows I learned recently that are used to hunt deer are like the size of your thumb, apparently. The arrowheads and spearheads we found are like the size of your forearm. So imagine what kind of big animals they were hunting with that thousands of years ago. Maybe even old enough to have been like woolly mammoths, but definitely like bison and stuff, right? Lots of those things found up there. And also, one of my favorite things to show off, the Civil War. Tens of thousands of troops were camped out right above us on the Nashville Turnpike, many of them really young, coming down here to explore. You guys look right up here. These black smudges up on the wall, on the ceiling rather. These over here, these are smoke stains from our soldiers who held up their lanterns to the ceiling, left some smoke residue behind, and signed their names. Technically graffiti, but because it's old, I kind of like it. Now we've actually been able to go through and track down a lot of those soldiers to their journals. We have some of them are still legible. We can read their names, and our historians done a great job of obtaining their actual documents and actually figuring out where some of them were before and after the war. Some of them survived, some of them did not. Some of them unfortunately perished in battles right after leaving here. But thousands of them came through here, and we realized just how important of a staging ground this really was during the war. Now, unfortunately, the Perkins family, when they gave tours down here in the 1930s, they didn't know any of the history. Or if they did, they didn't tell anybody. But I don't think they did, because even as far as like the 1990s, we didn't know a lot of that history. Our archaeological digs hadn't been done yet to discover that stuff. So during the 30s, while they were giving tours down here, Mr. Perkins and all of his staff and whoever else, they gave tours based on Jesse James. Everybody know who Jesse James is? Famous outlaw bank robber, right? He's really famous in this area because he very famously did rob a bank not far from here for $60,000 just after the Civil War. Now the story goes that he came down to Lost River Cave and he hid his treasure. But every single cave in this area claims the same legend. So I'm here to tell you that ours is the only true one. No, not really. We actually don't think he hid out